Hi guys, it's Still Inspector here. Welcome back to the Crypto Mining Show. Today we're going to be going over the Texas crypto miners move to switch off as heatwave threatens the power grid. So we're talking about Bitcoin Hashrate as well in this video, but we're just going to cover this article, then have a little look into the hashrate chart and the around the world kind of percentage mining hashrate that's going on. So right here it says that crypto miners in Texas shut down their operations ahead of a heatwave many anticipate will test the limits of the state's power infrastructure. The request to shut down came from the non-profit Electrical Reliable Council of Texas, and electricity usage peaked at 78,000 megawatts on July 8th, surpassing the previous high of 77,000 3 days earlier. ERGOT issued a statement to its 26 million customers encouraging them to conserve energy in anticipation for the fourth heatwave this summer. The heatwave began over a week ago, with the temperatures in Dallas exceeding 100 degrees Fahrenheit since July 3rd. In times of increased demand, crypto miners in the Lone Star State are required to shut down operations to reduce the chance of significant system outages, since there's no built-in reserve capacity in the Texas grid. Mining is the energy-intensive process. We already know what that means. And according to Lee Bratcher of the Texas Blockchain Association, commercial mining operations accounting for 1,000 megawatts of power were turned off, making that capacity available for retail and commercial purposes. So basically, after the 8th of July, they were turned off 1,000 megawatts of power to these Bitcoin mining farms. Argo Blockchain, which in May secured a loan for the New York Digital Investment Group to expand its 200 megawatt facility in Dickens County, has already shut down its operations, according to an official tweet. Riot Blockchain suspended operations at their Rockdale facility on June 9th, but resumed mining 14 hours later. Bloomberg reports that the company had sequentially shut down its facilities in response to ERGOT's latest statement. Core Scientific has also suspended mining. So rising energy prices and the crypto market rout, which began earlier this year, may reduce profitability for big miners, many of whom have set up shop in Texas because of the friendly legislation and deregulated energy grid. The deregulation of the grid in 1999 was a double-edged sword. While it lowered the costs and gave customers more choice, it lacked clear guidelines regarding the hardening of the grid against the adverse weather conditions. So basically they're dealing with a heat wave right now which doesn't give them free energy to use. So basically all these crypto miners are taking up, well, it says 1,000 megawatts of energy, and that has been then kind of shut off, so they have that free in case anything happens during this heat wave. You know, ACs, all of this need to be turned on to make sure that obviously houses stay cool and everything stays running. According to a recent press release, the Riot blockchain deployed all of its 23,000 S19 miners in June as its Windstone facility in Rockdale. It began participating in ERGOT for Coincident Peak initiative in June 2022. In this program, miners ascend to ERGOT's request to lower energy usage during summer months. In June 2022, the company reduced its energy consumption to 8,600 megawatts per hour. So they've still got, a decent amount of miners on their network, but they've had to turn off some just because they need the free energy, and Texas needs it to deal with this heat wave. Basically, they're trying to keep other businesses open, like even facilities, corporations, stuff like that. They need the energy to keep operations running throughout this heat wave, and they don't want any stoppages because it can cost more than, what the actual Bitcoin miners would be making in profits. It says here, in a note to investors at the end of the June 2022, Core Scientific disclosed that its operations over 180,000 owned and collated mining machines called ASICs, and has a significant plans to expand further into Texas and Oklahoma by 2022. So basically there's still going to be energy rises for the next, couple of years, just because people are still buying ASICs and Bitcoin's not really going anywhere. Now if we go over to the Bitcoin Hashrate chart, we can see that in the last 24 hours, if I highlight it here, it's dropped minus 12.44%. Or 12.44%, which is now sitting at 192 equihash. So if we look here, we've had this big spike. This was the highest that Bitcoin Hashrate got to, and that was on the 8th of last month, so around a month ago. And then it dropped all the way down to around, let me just have a look here. it dropped all the way down to around 190 equihash. So that's a drop of around 60 equihash in around 3 days, I believe. So not really good in terms of the Bitcoin hash rate. I don't really know why this spike was here, because the price of Bitcoin obviously wasn't going up at that time, I don't believe. But maybe the energy prices were a bit lower that day or something like that. Anyway, if we zoom in further up by here, we can see that we have this 197 that was reported yesterday. Before that it was at 220. So right here on the 6th of July, we can see that we got a low of 181 and we got a high of 223. Now we're expecting a 1,000 megawatt turn off from these Texas miners, and we know that Texas makes up kind of a big chunk of the Bitcoin mining space in terms of hash rate. So it's expected to see a kind of drop off, or this could just be like a cyclical thing. Obviously we're seeing peaks and lows, but it looks to be like this next peak is not higher than the other one, so we're seeing slight drop offs every peak that we see. And then it goes down into the 197 equihash that we're on now, but currently we're at 192 equihash. If we go over to this Cambridge Bitcoin electricity consumption, we can see which actual countries are using the most electricity and have the most hash rate. So obviously we've got here, if we click on United States, it says 37.8%, which is obviously the highest hash rate or electricity usage in the world for Bitcoin mining. Then we have Canada above it. Obviously that's not going to be as high as 6.48%. But it is interesting to see that China still has 21% of the hash rate in January of 2022. I don't know what it's like now, but still that's a large amount of hash rate, seeming that they did ban crypto mining, around a year ago, I think it was. And then we also have Kazakhstan here, which had some trouble with Bitcoin mining hash rates as well. They still have 13.22%. And, I think the second biggest after those would be Canada. Basically, all of Europe has little percentage. Russia kind of has a small percentage, but that might change when the figures update, due to the fact that Russia are trying to get Bitcoin miners to sell off their stuff, so sell off their Bitcoins. We did cover it in a previous video, but they're trying to get people to sell off their Bitcoin on foreign exchanges. So I think they're allowing Bitcoin mining, it's just they're kind of keeping it under wraps. So if we click on basically any of Europe, Germany has an actual high rate, but as it says, there's little knowledge or whatever, but this could just be due to IP addresses where they are using it in China or a country that's banned crypto mining, and they're just flowing it through a IP address just to get it through to their miners. The same with Ireland, I think it is. There's 2% there, which is way more than most other countries, but that's due to just IP addresses. If we have a look at the UK, where I'm from, we've only got 0.23% of the hash rate of the entire world. Now this is expected because obviously the UK has very high electricity rates, and the same goes for basically most of Europe. They all have very low percentages, even like 0.02 as Spain has, Portugal has 0.01, just because it's not efficient to even set up Bitcoin ASICs in these countries, because one, the electricity cost is high, and two, there's no way to really cool it. No countries like that have good cooling when compared to America. Because in Texas, they obviously have all the infrastructure in to cool it because Texas gets hot. But in the UK, AC is not really a thing in terms of, not many houses will have it, or not many facilities will be able to build it at a larger scale to cool down these Bitcoin mining ASICs. If you have a look at Australia as well, that's got a kind of good percentage, but it's still not up there with, the big hitters like the USA or China. If we take a look at this, obviously it's 37%. This was from January 2022, so we don't really know what the figures are right now, but it's just interesting to see. I think more people have come over to the United States to Bitcoin mine. There's a lot of stuff being shipped over to Texas from China or Kazakhstan or Russia, just because of everything that's going on over there. China's banning it, Russia's having a war, so they don't really know what to do with their ASIC miners. So they're shipping them over here and basically just getting the profits for cheap because of the electricity cost. So all in all, I think that the Bitcoin mining hash rate will still be sided with America, but there's still going to be a decent amount in Kazakhstan and China at this present time. Obviously, these figures aren't from that time, but right now I think that China still has a large chunk of hash rate on it. If we see here on the mining pool stats, you can see like where the biggest pools are basically. Foundry Digital is in obviously America, F2Pool and Ampool are worldwide, but a lot of these are actually all in America. There's one in Germany, that's probably where the hash rate comes from for Germany, through the IP addresses for that. The only Chinese pool that I can see on here is the ANOMP pool, which is 50th and obviously has 0 hash rate. There are other pools on here which are from other Asian countries. I don't quite know what this country is, Lithuania I believe. So Lithuania's got a large amount of hash rate clearly, 22 on the board. There's some in Canada, but that's expected because we've seen that Canada has a decent percent of hash rate there. And from here we can see that this is obviously in Germany as well. This one's in Hong Kong, so not really part of China jurisdiction, but still over there kind of. So all in all, Bitcoin hash rate will be moving from different countries or whatever, but we're going to see a lower Bitcoin hash rate I think for the next kind of month or so, and then it will kind of go back up as the price starts to rise as well. Just because you need to get through the summer months, people are wanting energy, and during Texas heat wave, they'll be taking the energy used for Bitcoin mining and using it for facilities that they actually need for the country. So that's it for the video. I'll leave links to all of these websites in the description below if you want to check them out, and go subscribe to the channel and like the video.